Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the next episode of Build Different. Today, coming to you live from my house here in Melbourne. Slightly different version of Build Different this week. What we'll be doing across every other week in between each of our conversations is a shorter mini version of Build Different, where I talk a little bit about what's kind of going on in the market at the moment in relation to building great teams, the talent space overall, but also just generally what's happening when it comes to all things workforce and careers. So hopefully everyone enjoyed last week's episode with John Didalitza from the Melbourne Victory. It was such a great conversation. I really enjoyed in the moment. The things that I loved so much about it, which I talked about in the lead up and after the episode, was just the self-awareness that John had around things that he was doing really well as a leader, but also where there are opportunities to engage others to get a more improved outcome. And this idea that he touched on when it came to not making too many changes to the roster at the Victory in his first year at the club, but making some subtle tweaks around the support around the way they did things and how they just changed a couple of different things to be able to unlock a little more performance and extract greater productivity from the existing squad to then go on and meet the expectations the following seasons and make 2 consecutive grand finals is really pertinent to what's kind of going on in the market right now. And for anyone that follows me via LinkedIn or any of our socials, you may have seen that we launched and released our recent edition of the In Search of High Acute newsletter, where we talk a little bit about this productivity puzzle that most organizations are trying to solve. And what John talked about in terms of identifying a couple of little tweaks across the existing structures and the existing teams and complementing in different ways that might not be big in terms of investment or grand changes or anything like that, but can help make a big impact to the people that exist, that the organization or the team is going in the right direction, can help extract that level of growth and productivity gains that you're looking for. And if I think about what's going on at the moment with the conversations that I'm having with leaders, this idea of just doing little things to understand what's going to be important for the group, the collective, but also the individuals within the collective that can help them go to another level, whether it be around discretionary effort, whether it be around sort of efficiencies in how they do things at the moment, but maybe even headspace, just to stretch up a little bit more and make what they're doing a little more interesting can go a long way. Now, it's interesting. I had a great chat with a senior VP for a major global consumer brand who had taken on a country manager role sort of 3-4 years ago. And this was exactly his strategy. He himself had a really strong background in commercial leadership, so sales, category management, marketing, product development. And while there are opportunities for him to lean into those skills to go to the next level, the opportunity for him at the country manager level was managing the whole operation a little bit more. Now, the only way that he was going to be able to take that step and lean into those areas that perhaps were not necessarily areas of strength for him previously was to empower the people underneath to pick up and do more. So creating a vision that made sense for the local market, of course, acknowledging that for this particular person, it needed to roll up into a regional APAC and then also global strategy. But once understanding what it was that was going to work for the ANZ region, it was then saying to his direct reports in marketing, product, sales, category, customer service, and say, right, this is what we're going after. These are the accountabilities that you have. This is where I think you should be thinking about taking your role to the next level, and I'm going to give you the authority to do that. It immediately asked people to step up a little bit. And some might say, well, hey, that's not the core fundamental of the role that those people were employed to do. But when we're talking about taking that next career leap and identifying where your stretch is so that you can continue to develop your skills, that naturally happens when you master your subject matter expertise. And when you master your subject matter expertise, there becomes more time to get stuff done, or to do new things. So, and that's what this individual did. He was able to identify that these people had mastered their areas and they needed some stretch, and they had the capacity to do it within the confines of a working week. And what that did, not only did it empower them to roll up, and they then had those same conversations with their respective teams who could then also roll up, it enabled this VP the time to then say, okay, well, I can now do more and showcase what it is that the Australian market or ANZ market is then doing across the global, which enabled that person to be given opportunities to stretch their wings across APAC. So it's a really interesting topic, and it's one that's becoming more and more prevalent at the moment as we roll into a year where, at least as we stand here in February, there's a level of momentum that seems to be building. Organizations are starting to come out from this sort of level of conservatism and seeing that there's some light at the end of the tunnel, and growth is now starting to become a really big agenda. Now, the growth that is on people's minds is generally still balanced. They're not necessarily becoming overly ambitious, and it is starting with, well, let's see if we can extract a little more growth from the structure and from the people and from the teams that we already have. And if that momentum continues, well, then we can start to see perhaps we need to invest in headcount here and in technology there. And as organizations continue to identify where AI sits in creating that efficiency and time to roll into more value add, we're just starting to see the market turn a little bit, and organizations going after leaders who have got the capacity to drive discretionary effort, to identify how things can be more efficient, to extract greater profitability, greater value, improved engagement, more accountability, that ultimately is going to deliver better commercial results. So this is where things are moving at the moment. And I think you'll start to notice that as the conversations in Build Different present moving forward, you'll start to see some themes. And if I think about the conversations we've had so far, there is this level of care and connection to being a good human that is ultimately driving success for some of the people that we've spoken to. And I think that the conversation with John showcased that it's now a time where care must be a fundamental lever if you really do want to extract more from your people. And within reason, there's got to be a balance. And I think we're starting to see that come through, that organizations who show the most care and who sit back and say to their people, hey, we're going to give you opportunities to do the things that you'd like to do. But the expectation is you've got your core role under control, you're delivering against the core expectations, and then we're going to ask you or give you the space to be able to show us what else you're capable of. And this is what it's all about. It's about identifying those individuals that can help take that step, who understand that there's a balance of how quickly they might be able to get there, who realize they still need that support and who want that framework, but who want the autonomy and they want the trust and they want the empowerment to go out and do it. So that's it today from this mini version of Build Different. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, the HireQ YouTube channel. All of your Build Different conversations will be based there. You can also get it on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love to get your feedback and any questions that you'd like me to be asking guests into the future. We're starting to think about what season 2 looks like, acknowledging that season 1 is only 1 episode old. The next conversation I'm really excited by, it's again someone that leans across that sports space, but who's also had great success in the corporate world as well, and really focusing on this high performance mindset and the frameworks that exist around that to build great leaders that therefore build great teams. So look out more for that. That episode drops next week. But for now, thanks again for the support. If you're not already, follow me on LinkedIn, YouTube and TikTok. But for now, have a great weekend and week ahead, and we'll see you very soon.